What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Monday's Die Hard MMA podcast. I am Clint. I'm your host. I'm the guy who's always here in this chair on this channel on Mondays talking mixed martial arts and sports betting with you. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me today on this illustrious break week. We get to let our hair down. We get to just kind of chill and relax and not worry about it. I didn't have to spend all my weekend tape studying. I know we've got a big UFC card coming up, not this weekend, next weekend, and I got to tell you, it's going to be nice to kick my feet up here for a week. I'm going to get that degenerate itch in about 2 days. In about 2-3 days, I'm going to be regretting not having MMA to bet on this week. But right now, it honestly feels pretty good. This run we've been on has been a lot, and I put a shit ton of work in. So I'm looking forward to the little bit of rest, the little bit of break I'm going to get. And y'all are the real ones. The ones of you that are tuning in here live on this Monday show when there's not a lot to talk about. You're the ones I do it for. You're the ones that this train keeps on rolling for. Do me a favor, smash the like button if you don't mind. Oh, geez. Smash the like button. There we go. That's better. Smash the like button for me. Subscribe here to Pub Sports Radio if you haven't yet already. And support the boys. We bring a shit ton of free sports betting content to you weekly besides just myself. So thank you very much. I'm going to welcome in the chat here. We've got Dan Goldstein first in on the show and already talking about the Ngannou situation with Gane and Lewis. And I got to tell you guys, we will definitely talk about that today. I'm pretty excited about this. I'm thanking the UFC for making my day here because I'll be honest, I was just going to recap UFC Vegas 30, talk a little bit about the betting, and then just sprinkle ever so little bit on McGregor-Poirier, and I was going to have to try to stretch that for like 30 minutes or something so I didn't have like a 15-minute podcast for you today, and then this news drops, so now we got something to talk about, so I will save that. That'll be the big topic for today, but I'm definitely looking forward to it. Mohammed Boston here in the chat, Dog MMA, Nigel Lee, we've got Peter Houghton, Jack Goodwill, Lee the Gaming Wolf 87, like I said, the OGs, the usual crew. Beach Money, what's up, my friend? How you doing today? It's Review. Hype 3 MMA, except it's just Hype MMA. Sorry, I'm trying to read these things on the quick here. Diamond Hands Hammurabi, what's going on? How's everybody doing? Preston, what's up, Preston? Tajiki Bay, the GOAT in the house today. That's you, my buddy. Thank you very much. All right. Oh, and BP. I missed you, BP. Sorry about that. You're here too. All right. So first things first. Let's just go over last week's event, right? We dropped the bomb. We dropped the big 5-unit bomb on Volkov, and I'm pretty upset about that. I'm going to go ahead and start from the bottom. All things considered, it was not a bad weekend, and I think we need to make sure we drive that point home because everybody saw that I took the big swing, I took the big shot, the big 5-unit shot, and everybody expected that to just basically ruin my life because it missed. And the fact is we broke even on the weekend. So our night started off with Bellator and PFL on the doubleheader there on Saturday. We hit the David Winchell 2-unit play at plus 125 for 2.5 units. We whiffed the half-unit shot on Tim Johnson, but he definitely came to fight that night. That was a fun heavyweight scrap to watch. And then I did do a parlay. I messed up on this. This was my bad. Y'all know I'm an Anthony Pettis hater. Y'all know I fade Anthony Pettis every opportunity that I get. For some reason, I thought that this is his bounce back spot, and I stuck him in a parlay with Liz Carmouche. Now, Carmouche was someone who I was considering throwing hammers at. Like, I was ready to lay a bomb down on Liz Carmouche. Sure enough, she comes out like a wild animal and TKOs this chick that doesn't belong in the cage with her, couldn't sniff her jockstrap. I mean, Liz Carmouche was an absolute monster on Saturday, and I knew that was going to be the case. Instead of just sacking up and taking her for a big, heavy shot straight, tighter with Anthony Pettis, and of course Pettis does what Pettis does, drops the ball, gets outworked, could have taken a nice, plus 160 underdog or something there with him like I usually do, and this time decided to parlay him instead. So dropped a unit back there. We made 1 unit on Saturday. That was nice. Helps us out for the, on Friday, helps us out for the Saturday card. So just kind of going back through the event here, we kicked the night off with Yancy Medeiros, Damir Hadzovic. Really fun fight. We had the under 2.5, and I would line up and make that bet again tomorrow. The way those two guys went in there and slugged it out, the way they hit each other with the best shots they could possibly muster. I am so surprised that nobody went down. And then even when we had just 10, 15 seconds left to try to cash our bet there in the third round, Yancy Medeiros was hunting for the neck of Damir Hadzovic. I mean, he was so close to locking up a submission there in that third round. We were live on that under from start to finish, and I don't regret that bet whatsoever. Props, shout out to our guy, Gianni the Greek, who was our guest last week. He had a big shot on Damir Hadzovic, which up until that third round, Damir was in the driver's seat. Damir started to slow down. Yancy really ramped it up there in the third, almost got the finish. But he definitely won the first 2 rounds, and as long as he hung on, which he did, they got the win. So props to Gianni. I hope some people got in on that. Nick Zizin, what's going on? Welcome to the chat, my bud. All right. So then our next thing was we had Charles Rosa taking on Justin James. I had a late addition to my card. I bought in on the whole Justin James betting on himself thing. And honestly, I think there's an argument to be made that he won the first and the third round. Again, that's a bet that I actually don't regret whatsoever. He dropped a split decision. I thought it was over in the third round when he got taken down by Rosa. I thought it was done and that was the end of the line. But then he got up and he put it on Rosa. The problem is with someone like Justin James, he doesn't always make the best in-fight decisions. And after he had Rosa hurt horribly on the feet, he went for a takedown, and all of us are screaming and yanking our hair out when he did that. That was not good. But the bet itself, I think, was a solid bet at plus money. That was a much closer fight than people expected it to be. So I don't mind that whatsoever. Ike Villanueva, he just shut down, man. He did everything I was looking for him to do. He was walking his opponent down. He was getting in range. I got to give Marcin Prachnio some props because the game plan he brought to the table was fantastic. I mean, attacking the lead leg of Ike like that was really something. But you could also tell that every time Ike landed or every time Ike got close, Marcin was really terrified. Like, I don't think the chin issues are a thing of the past. I think he's just improved. He's gotten a bit more technical. He's learned how to stay safer. I'm still going to fade Marcin Prachnio. The next time he's out, if he's taking on anybody with any decent boxing or power striking, I will be lining up to bet against Marcin Prachnio. It didn't work out this time, but I'm not giving up on that shot. Next fight up, we had Warley Alves taking on Jeremiah Wells, and holy shit, Wells did the damn thing. I talked about that. Diamond Hands Hammurabi right here. Marcin was, absolutely. You could see all the little bumps along his abdomen, which is a side effect for, I think that's an EPO side effect. He's still on something. He's absolutely got a better doctor. He's definitely taken some stuff. I will stand by that statement. Jack Goodwillie with a great call here. Daun Jung and Prachnio. That would be a pretty fantastic fight. I would love that spot. That'd be a good one. So Jeremiah Wells, I was a little too scared to take him coming in on short notice, but Warley Alves, again, an Anthony Pettis-style fighter that's just so hot and cold and a guy that breaks when it doesn't go his way. Jeremiah Wells, a guy that looks like he's impossible to finish. He's explosive. He hits hard. I compared him to Francisco Trinaldo. Like, all the pieces were there, and somehow I still didn't find the trigger on Jeremiah Wells. So props to anybody who did go ahead and take that. And the under 1.5 would have been a fine spot there too. It was cool to see him get into the UFC, make such a big debut. Really kind of bums me out though, because everybody got so much shit for betting on Munir Lazzez. You know, everybody said that we bought in too hard on Munir Lazzez and he wasn't that good, and Warley Alves dusted him. And no, Warley Alves is exactly the guy that we thought he was. He just happened to land a liver kick. Like, that's something that I'm going to hold true to, that I think Munir Lazzez is still a talent and he's still a kid that we can bet on in this division. And Warley Alves round 1 is just a beast for anybody to handle. He got the right shot off and cost us that night. So gotta hold true to the read. So bit of a missed opportunity there. Lots of dogs barking, honestly, on this card looking back at it. Shavkat Rakhmonov came out and finished Michel Prazeres by submission in the second round. I was floored by his performance. I stayed off of that one because you don't finish Michel Prazeres. Shavkat Rakhmonov is a guy that I think is all upside. Absolutely. I love this kid. I love what he brings to the table, but he's still got to show us that he can win a decision on the judges' scorecards. Whoever is good enough to extend him and take him late, I wonder what he's going to look like deep in the second, late in the third against high-level competition. And I thought this might be the fight where it got hairy. I thought this might be the fight where he took that step up. But holy shit, he just blew right through Prazeres. I thought Prazeres was going to be the one potentially putting him up against the cage and taking him down, slowing the pace. Prazeres ended up on his back in the first round. I mean, Shavkat's for real, folks. Absolutely. He's got the dead animal on his head and everything. Like, he is something. I can't wait to see his next fight. And I hope they give him a big jump up in competition, because him blowing through Michelle like that is absolutely wild. The first big hammer of our night was the final fight of the preliminary card, Kennedy Njoku taking on Danilo Marques, and I couldn't be happier with this fight. It was like I had a freaking crystal ball for this one. I knew Marques was going to be sticky early. I knew Marques was going to be dangerous early. We knew Kennedy's got the better gas tank. We knew Kennedy was going to hold tight. We knew he was going to stay safe, and sure enough, he flips the table deep in the third round after he was backpacked all of round one. Round two, you could tell the tide was turning. You could tell he was starting to get more shots off, but Marques did just enough. And then in round three, he came out and he lit Danilo Marques up. I freaking loved this spot. We got a 3-unit banger, hit the plus 100 on it, beat the line move. I mean, everything about this bet and this spot just went perfect, absolutely to a T. You can't ask for much better than that. I'm excited for what comes next for Kennedy Njoku. And honestly, I'm really excited for what comes next for Danilo Marques, because as much as I talked him down in this fight, I thought this was a really bad stylistic matchup for him. There's still a lot of people out there that Danilo Marques is going to cause a lot of problems for, and I like the guy. I will be backing him in the future against the right opponent, but this was just the perfect spot to turn the script on its head. So let me see here. Catching up with the chat, a couple of comments rolling in. Yeah, right? Like that was, we just knew. You knew it was coming. I wasn't, as much as everyone was saying it was dead after that backpacking, I thought that was perfect because I knew it was going to tire out Marques. I knew that Kennedy wasn't in any trouble. I knew he wasn't even tired. Like it was fantastic. I knew the finish was coming. I wasn't even sweating it, which that sounds cocky of me to say, but I swear, like I just had that level of confidence there in that particular fight. So we got the main card coming up here. Jai Herbert taking on Renato Moicano, and Moicano got the thing done by submission in round two. Again, another one that I almost called to a T. I nearly played that submission prop for Moicano. He cut through Jai Herbert like butter. That ground game of his is so sick. Absolutely terrifying, the ground game on Moicano. He's another one of these kids that you just can't count out. You know, he's had some troubles. He's had some chin issues. He's taken some big shots, but he's still really young. He's still coming around, and he showed just how damn good he was. I was honestly surprised with the defensive grappling of Jai Herbert. He did a good job to survive that fight as long as he did. He gave up the mount like 5 times and managed to work his way out of it and stay safe and not get submitted. That was really great work from Jai Herbert. There you go, Nigel. Nigel in there with the under 2.5 on that spot. Great work. Yeah, that's where we were at too. We had the I think I did the under 2.5 minus 150, 3 units to win 2. We're throwing hammers again on this particular fight, and that was I was starting to sweat it just a little bit when he survived the first round, but as soon as Moicano got him back on the floor in the second, I was like, okay, like it's just a matter of time. Eventually, he's going to run out of tricks. The welterweight fight, Nicholas Dalby, Tim Means. I got the absolute worst of the line on this one. Me and Gianni talked it through, and I decided Tim Means was the side. And then I got scared out of my mind pre-fight. If you guys follow me on Twitter, I know a lot of you do. You saw the tweet that I put out where I talked about how uncomfortable I was with the Tim Means fight. And I honestly wanted to hedge out because so much money came in on Dalby. They damn near flipped the line by fight time, and Dalby looked in the best shape he's ever been in. I was extremely nervous, had minus 165 on Tim Means, and you could have got him for minus 120 before the fight kicked off. This wasn't one of those spots where I wanted to double down on my guy. Usually, when I go against the market like that, I'm confident in my read enough to just take the free money, to just take another bet on it at a better line. And this one was the exact opposite. I was terrified. I was scared. I thought Dalby was going to knock his ass out in the third round, which he nearly did. But Tim hung on there, got the dang thing done for us, cashed the unit for us, even though we misread the market and got a bad line on it. We got rewarded for making the wrong moves this time, which every once in a while It's nice to catch a break. We had the sprinkle round 3 on Andre Touchy-Feely, and that became a push due to a no contest eye poke. I just want to give a shout out to Daniel Pineda. Absolute warrior. We have seen a chain of fighters recently who are taking the easy way out, which again, it's real easy for me to say from my nice cushy chair here on the podcast without being in the cage with them that they should continue fighting after getting poked in the eye. Trust me, I'm not trying to throw shade at anybody, but we've seen a lot of people take the win when it's pretty obvious they can continue the fight and they just know that the result is going to be a loss. So they take the no contest, they take the disqualification. It's cost a lot of people money very recently because the wrong side has been coming through in those situations, and we've been on a bad one or two of those ourselves. Daniel Pineda was poked so badly in the eye that he could not open his eye 10 minutes after the fact. He was still talking to Daniel Cormier and lying, saying that he could see out of the eye. Like, he told Daniel to his face that he could see, and DC was like, bro, your eye is shut. I'm looking at you. I can see it. Like, he called him out at the post-fight interview that he was like, props to wanting to continue, but you're lying. I got a good laugh out of that. I'm glad DC straight called him out for it, but Daniel Pineda's a warrior, man. Props to him for not taking that easy way out. Props to him for wanting to stay in the fight. I feel like we might have gotten away with one there because the way Feely was looking, the way Pineda was getting messed up and dropped in the first round, I don't think we would have got to round 3. As much as I liked that 10-1 on Feely, I don't know if Pineda could have taken another 5 minutes worth of beating before we got to the third round. So I think we saved a little bit of money there in that spot. Yeah, a lot of comments coming here on the eye pokes. Yeah, Aljo would have taken it. He absolutely would have, and he did. Oh, that's good. Yeah, I can't wait for them to run that fight back. That'll be interesting because everyone and their mom is going to be on Peter Yan in the rematch there. Connor Mac Picks in the house. What's up, buddy? Thanks for hanging out today. How you doing, my friend? Oh, boy. Big degenerate night tonight in the NHL. I'm going to take a short break real quick here. We've got like 3 fights left to talk about on the recap, but just so you all know the degenerate action, I've got an 18-1 Canadians to win the Stanley Cup ticket in my pocket. So it's making betting on this series very difficult because if anything, if I was optimal, yes, you're right there, Peter in the house. If I was being an optimal sports bettor, I would just bet on the Bolts and lock up a profit. Like, that's the smart thing to do, right? Would be to just lock up a profit, bet the Bolts to win the series, sit back and watch some hockey and not care about it. But I'm a complete madman and a degenerate. So tonight, I've got a couple of plays. I actually took the Montreal Canadiens in the first period, plus 130. I took them for the full game, plus 165. I think they've got a chance of pulling out the outright upset here in game 1. Tampa Bay has started a couple of series pretty slow. Thank you, Thomas. I'm really hoping it hits too. And Paul, Joey, no, I've been destroying the NHL in these playoffs. So no, I will not stop betting the NHL. Boston Nick in the house. What's up, buddy? How you doing? So for me, it goes MMA, NHL, NFL in that order. That's my top 3. So any team sport, NHL is absolutely my favorite one. So I'm always going to have degenerate betting action on NHL and NFL. And then I took Perry and Petrie for goal props. Those are the 2 that I like there. The big bet that I made was Jeff Petrie over 1.5 shots on goal. So if he registers 2 shots on goal, that's the big bet. That's really the one that I'm swinging for. Anyway, back to the MMA. I know that's what you're really here for, but every once in a while I've got a couple of degenerates that like to rock with me in the NHL. Hannah Barcelos and Timur Valiev. Really weird fight. I feel like the judges kind of got that one wrong. Not really sure what to do with that because the round 2 was obviously a 10-8 in my opinion. Barcelos put it on Timur in round 2. That absolutely should have been a 10-8. So it's either 1-3 for Valiev with the 10-8 for Barcelos, which is a draw. I know one judge did score it that way, and that was the correct scorecard in my opinion. Or you give Hani Barcelos round 1. Round 1 was very close, by the way. Round 1 was close, and then Barcelos obviously wins round 2, and then Valiev wins round 3. So, in my opinion, Valiev getting the win was actually kind of the worst case scenario. It should have been Barcelos or draw. I'm not sure how you can give I don't know how you can score that fight without doing a 10-8 in round 2. Barcelos had Timur Valiev dead to rights. I mean, he beat him within an inch of his life. So I'm not sure how they got away with that one there. Not a fan of the judges in that one. I did end up throwing a half unit on Tanner Boser by knockout in the co-main event. That was fun. He got it done. There was all the cage grabbing shenanigans, which he did with a closed fist. So there was no cage grabbing. He worked his way up. Good and fair. Good and fair. Jacksonville Zoe in the house. What's up, buddy? How you doing? Yes, Preston, the judging in MMA is garbage, and they got to do something about it because it's just been piling on lately. It's been getting worse and worse, and it's headed the wrong direction. So I'm not sure what's going on because we see more and more and more of these questionable, sketchy-ass cards. So it's not good, man. It's not good. And it's not a good look for the sport either when people are crying robbery like every other fight because the judges don't know what the fuck they're looking at. Like, we got to do something about that. Thank you very much, Diamond Hands Hammurabi. I appreciate that. It was a late addition there for me. Main event. I guess I'm going to keep this short. Obviously, we lost the 5-unit bomb on Volkov. Michael Lunday, what's up, buddy? The OG supporter in the house. Sorry. All right. I'm going to take a detour here. Michael's asking, what would I do to fix the judging? In my opinion, I think Joe Rogan might be onto something. I think more judges would be a decent option. Do 5 instead of 3, something like that. Or I also like open scoring. Open scoring doesn't sound like a bad option to me, where they read off the judges' scorecards after every round so everybody knows what's going on. And, in NHL, in NFL, NBA, when a referee makes a bad call and the crowd chants, "Ref, you suck," at them at the top of their lungs, and everyone knows that they messed it up, I think that could work well in MMA because I don't know how these judges actually do anything. If they try to fill in their card, I don't know. I just feel like if a bad scorecard is called at the end of round 1 and the entire stadium is in an uproar because the judge fucked it up and they all know it, that could really that could make the judge question how they're scoring that fight, which would maybe be a good thing in some cases. I don't know. I think we need to. The real problem. All right, now I'm super tangenting here. The real problem is we're using boxing judges who don't know how to compete in MMA to score MMA using a boxing system. So it's never going to work. It's literally just never going to work right because there's so many factors in MMA and there's so many opinions in MMA. If you favor volume striking over power punches, you can see a fight completely differently than a person sitting in the same exact room as you, because if 1 or 2 big bombs land and they're bleeding from their lip, the power guy says they won that round. But if they got hit with 30 punches going the other direction, but there's no damage, the volume guy says they win that one. It's just a very complicated process, and we need MMA judges. And the problem is that the jurisdictions, the athletic commissions, they're the ones that control the judges. They're the ones that hire the judges. The UFC doesn't get to have a say in who the judges are or aren't, and the commission protects their judges. So if the judges make a bad call or if they do something shady, the commission steps up and they make sure they don't lose their job, and they say everything's fine, and they stick them right back in. Put me in, coach. They put them right back in the next week to go fuck something up again. And that's kind of the problem, is that the commissions need to understand that they're doing it wrong. And I don't know how we change that. I honestly don't, because I could call the Nevada State Athletic Commission and bitch for, 20 days in a row, and they're still not going to change anything, because who the hell am I? So I don't know how we change that. I really don't. It's a tough question. It's a burden. Our sport is really struggling because of it, and it's the commission's fault. It really is, because they control everything. Yeah, Connor Mack says, screw the commissions. Yeah, Aiden, it's pretty bad. The difference is boxing, I think, is actually corrupt, and MMA is just ignorant. It's not corrupt. They just don't know what the hell they're doing. So for the main event of a great question, by the way. Great question. Thanks for asking. Main event for UFC Vegas 30, dropped the 5-unit bomb on Volkov. It sucks because we were in a really good spot. We were running hot. We had hit all the big hammers going into this one. Basically almost free rolling by this point. And I feel like this fight was a lot closer than a lot of other people are letting on. I know everyone's going to say that I'm biased. Everyone's going to say that the only reason I feel that way is because I had a bet on Volkov. And that's simply not true. If you look at the strike stats, this is where, again, you're talking power versus volume in this kind of a situation. Alexander Volkov outlanded Cyril Gane for the first 2 rounds. I thought he won the first round. Round 2 was extremely close. Gane won with the forward pressure and had some bigger shots landed in that one, so I can concede that round 2 went to Cyril Gane. But I think that the first 2 rounds were extremely competitive, and I think that the 50-45 scorecard is just wrong. There's no way Cyril Gane won every single round, and especially round 1. I think that may have been Volkov's best round. And then round 4, I actually thought Volkov, again, he out-volumed Cyril. He landed the bigger counter shots. He landed a couple of big power punches. There was a couple things in round 4 that I feel like was enough for him to get the nod there. I had it 2-2 going into the 5th round. But at the end of the day, I scored the fight for Cyril Gane. I had a 5-unit bet on Alexander Volkov, and I scored it 3-2 for Cyril Gane. So, I mean, I can't sit here and tell you that the wrong guy won the fight or anything like that. If you scored it 4-1, okay, I'm not going to argue that point. 5-0, no, I'll argue that point. I think 3-2 was more accurate. I know I'm in the minority there. I know a lot of people thought that it was at least 4-1 and maybe 5-0, but I think 5-0 comes from the biased commentary of Daniel Cormier. And that Aiden picking up on that one again. The commentary was brutal, absolutely brutal, because they were literally sucking off Cyril Gane for something that he did 30 seconds prior while Alexander Volkov was punching him in the face. That was really bothering me because while Volkov was landing accurate shots, they were talking about Cyril Gane and the great thing he did a minute ago. So it was incredibly biased. Gane won the fight. No arguments here. At the end of the day, that's all it comes down to. I'm going to take a quick opportunity to shout out my OG sponsors, Goat Capital Sports. Make sure you check them out on Twitter, @GoatCapital_. They handle basically everything that I can't for you. They'll give you picks, baseball, basketball, all the other good stuff that I'm really just no good at. And in fact, we were this close to hitting Bubba Watson in the golf tournament on Sunday. He had the most epic meltdown that I've ever seen. He was the tournament leader going in to Sunday. And then in the last 4 holes, melted down so badly, and that kind of shit happens in golf, obviously, but it was like a 32-1 bomb that we were on, and Bubba damn near did the thing. So especially in golf, Goat Capital knows what the hell they're doing, especially in golf. So make sure you check them out. Let them know I sent you. Very reasonably priced packages, and then of course they have the deal where if you lose for a week on their picks, you get refunded your price there. So make sure you check out Goat Capital Sports. I see, Paul Joy, you're right. Commentary doesn't affect judging. Maybe. Does it though? Because we don't know if the judges are hearing the commentary or not. And the commentary does affect the couch jockey judging, and that's kind of more what I'm talking about. I have a hard time respecting what most of the actual judges see in MMA as is. We've seen that they don't know what they're doing. We've seen they don't understand the sport. They've given awful, ridiculous scorecards. So we don't really value their opinion to begin with. But the masses, the MMA fans, the people on Twitter that are calling it 50-45 for Cyril Gane, those are the people that are all listening to Daniel talk. Those are the people that are all listening to the UFC commentary team and going, yeah, he's right. Yeah, and disregarding everything that Volkov did in that fight because they never said a good word about him. So that's kind of the issue. That's more what I'm talking about, is the people on Twitter, the people that are saying that it was a blowout when go look at the stats. Cyril Gane did outstrike Volkov, but it was only by like 10 strikes per category. It wasn't like a 100-38 significant strike difference ratio like we've seen some previous fights. This was a close fight. This was a competitive fight. So, yeah, it just rubs me the wrong way that it was seen that way. But again, at the end of the day, the bet lost. I was on the wrong side. I'm willing to admit that, and I've said that multiple times. So what we've got going on next I've got a pretty fun little lineup for you all coming up in the next couple of weeks. We've got some pretty awesome guests that will be coming on the show. Next week, we are going to be breaking down UFC 264, which is a pretty solid card, but honestly, a very difficult card, in my opinion. There's a lot of really shady spots on this card from a betting perspective. We're going to have to be very, very, very careful on the next card. Jake from Australia, what's up, man? Thank you for tuning into the show from all the way down under. Appreciate you. We have got a surprise guest, somebody who's never been on the show before that I am very excited about. Jay from the Sports Keg will be joining me to break down UFC 264 next week. Now, if any of you know who Jay from the Sports Keg is, the dude is a legend these days. He's an absolute monster in the sports betting world. He does run a paid site, and they are profitable year over year over year in absolutely everything, and they're just ridiculous. The amount of work they do is insane. And he's coming on the show. He's a friend of mine. We've been hanging out. We DM back and forth on pretty much every single fight week, and I respect the absolute shit out of the guy. He's agreed to come on. I think I might be the first guy to get him on a podcast like this to talk a UFC fight, so I'm pretty excited about that. This is a crazy fight. What we've got in Poirier versus McGregor, I'm going to tell you all right now, okay? This is, first off, buckle in because all the casuals are coming out. Anybody who only tunes in for McGregor fight week is coming out next week. So we're going to be in for a roller coaster. But what we're going to have is a sharp versus square divide here, all right? It is going to be the sharps who are taking Conor McGregor that are saying, this is the lowest, most reasonable price you've ever gotten on McGregor, and he always beats the market. He has a history of beating the market. Everybody who said last time that there was value on Dustin Poirier, but that Conor was going to win, is going to line up and take Conor McGregor because now you're getting the pick 'em price. Now you're getting the right price to back the better fighter. And so they're going to go back to that. The casuals are all going to be the ones piling on who watched Conor get knocked out last time, and they're going to expect to see the same exact thing they saw last time. They're just going to go right back to the well. Dustin won last time. Of course he's winning this time. And even though the price is worse by about $2 full, they're going to line up and pay it anyway. So that's what's going to happen next week. I'm not sure what side I'm on yet, because as you all know, I am a square who is trying to be a sharp. So my read from the last fight was that overall I wanted Conor McGregor. I hated the line. I said there was value on Dustin Poirier, and that was a spot that I kind of wish I had taken, obviously, in hindsight. He was a huge dog with a live shot, and he came through and did the damn thing. Conor McGregor does extremely well in these rematch and trilogy type situations. He's taking this one far more seriously, and we're getting the lowest price tag on Conor McGregor you're ever going to see. Seems like a Conor spot to me. But I need to go in and really dig in and do my research and see whether or not I'm just going to stick to my last read or whether I want to flip. I'm not entirely sure. Like I said, I'm taking a legitimate couple of days off from all my MMA tape study because it takes hours. And I'm going to enjoy my weekend without worrying about it. I will have a full breakdown for you all next week and a kick-ass guest to talk it over with. Razor Sharp Picks in the house. What's up, buddy? So that's just kind of the early lean here. I'm leaning Conor McGregor, but I'm not sure what I'm doing, and I'm not sure which way I'm betting on it. Now, let's get to the good stuff, right? This would really be the end of the show. We're at about the 34, 35-minute mark in the podcast, and this would basically be it. I'd sign off at this point and tell you all to have a good night because I need to watch the Montreal Canadiens beat the Tampa Bay Lightning. But what we have today is an absolute meltdown of UFC news that I want to talk about. The UFC just announced that they are putting together Derek Lewis versus Cyril Gane for the interim title at UFC 265, which blows my mind. Absolutely blows my mind, because interim titles are used for when a champion cannot compete. They're injured. You don't know when you're going to see them again. That's what an interim title is for. This ain't it. They're literally slapping a belt on this fight. Okay. Got ahead of myself. There's two schools of thought here, right? One school is that something is going on, tinfoil hat. Francis Ngannou is really open and talking about fighter pay, needing more money, wanting what he's worth. He's very public and vocal about that right now. So the first school of thought is that the UFC is basically showing him the door. They're showing him the middle finger. And they're going, Francis, you want more money? Sit down. We're going to pay these guys to fight over your belt instead because you don't want to for the money that we already promised you. That's a Dana White move. He's absolutely the kind of guy to do that. Make a statement about one of his champions that way. And I hate it. I think it sucks. And I think it's in bad taste. I do kind of subscribe to this group. I think that that's kind of what the UFC is doing in this spot. And it's dirty. I'm not a fan of it. But what I've seen online is that there is another group of people that basically say that Francis is not a big enough draw at this point. And the UFC is trying to build up this UFC title fight by strapping the other half of a belt on another fighter. And they've got two great storylines here. Derek Lewis, the guy that has already fought Francis, but they had the literal worst fight in UFC history. They're both looking to capitalize on their current momentum, have that rematch, see who really should have won the fight because they just stared at each other the first time. And then Cyril Gane, a guy who is the hottest prospect at heavyweight since Francis Ngannou. They're former training partners, I think briefly when they first got going. And Cyril trains out of the gym that Francis left. So there's a bad blood storyline, Cyril Gane and Francis Ngannou. There's a bad blood run it back line between Lewis and Ngannou. On top of that, Derek Lewis is one of the biggest fan favorite fighters out there today. So some people are saying that they're setting this fight up instead and throwing an interim strap on it so that whoever wins it becomes more hyped, becomes more of a draw, and then you've got a champion versus champion heavyweight unification title belt. I mean, it's a little crazy, but it's just crazy enough that it might be true, right? I can see it. It makes sense. When belts are on the line, especially casual fans, they come out in droves. They eat that shit up. So I could see that being the case, but I really think it's about the fighter pay thing. I really think it's about Dana White trying to show Francis Ngannou where he is in the pecking order. So I'm personally not a huge fan of it. Either way, it's an interesting fight, and I will firmly be rooting for Derek Lewis. Obviously, I know Derek Lewis can knock anybody on the planet out. That does include Cyril Gane, but we are not going to get the right price tag to look for a knockout against Cyril Gane. We just saw what Cyril Gane can do, and Derek Lewis is not the type of guy that can keep up with that. He doesn't have the footwork. He doesn't have the movement. And if Cyril Gane isn't diving in for takedowns the way that Curtis Blades did, there's no uppercut coming. So I have a real hard time seeing Derek Lewis find the bomb on Cyril Gane. As much as I want to see Lewis knock his ass out, because it would just be... I would just love it for him to ruin the UFC's plans and get right back to where he was with an interim belt and get his shot against Francis anyway. I would love for him to spoil the plans. I don't see it happening. I think Cyril probably just outpoints Derek Lewis. And, you know, with the athleticism of Gane, I think I talked about how Gane wasn't going to be able to take down Alexander Volkov in the last fight. I was right about that, by the way. He can absolutely take down Derek Lewis. Lewis is a guy that has no takedown defense whatsoever. I think we see the return of wrestling Cyril Gane when that fight takes place. And shit, he might even submit him. I mean, that's what Daniel Cormier did, is he took him out, he took him down and took advantage once he tried to get up, because Derek Lewis doesn't really defend his neck. So I can absolutely see Cyril Gane walking through Derek Lewis and ruining his hopes at a title shot, and then having the interim title and doing a champ versus champ main event, which that would be fun. That'll be exciting. Don't get me wrong. But I don't like the way they're going about it. I don't like how they're hosing Francis Ngannou. The championship picture ducked Francis Ngannou for 3 freaking years. Like, everyone knew he was the uncrowned king. Everyone knew he was going to wreck either Stipe or DC, unless you're one of those Stipe truthers, in which case I'm sorry, but you're wrong. Everyone knew Francis was going to take that title, and they did everything they could to avoid him for 3 full years at the top of the heavyweight division. He literally cleaned out the division waiting for his UFC title shot. And now he won his belt 3 months ago, and they're giving an interim strap to somebody, citing that he's not wanting to fight. It's just dirty. It's just fucked up. You can't do my boy Francis that way. I don't like it. So that's my opinion on the matter. That's my early read, early breakdown of the fight between Cyril Gane and Derek Lewis. Again, I'm all team Black Beast. I hope he gets it done. But we've got some really exciting UFC coming up in the very near future, folks. It's going to be pretty freaking fantastic. There's 120 of you live here with me. We got 40 minutes out of the show today. Thank you all so much for chilling with me on this Monday. You all know I will absolutely be betting on NHL throughout the week, because that's just what I do. I'm a degenerate and I can't help myself, but I'm going to be studying for UFC 264, and throughout the week, I'm probably going to be locking some early plays in, and then definitely we'll have a great breakdown for you on Monday. We've got a really awesome schedule coming up, some really fun guests, and I'm actually, you know what? I'm not gonna announce that. I'm gonna save that. I'm gonna keep that to myself. Maybe next week, after my guest comes on, I will let you know what the future is as far as the guest list is concerned. But I've got some fun stuff coming up that I'm pretty excited about for everybody. So once again, do me a favor, hit the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe here to Pub Sports Radio. They swooped in and saved the Die Hard MMA podcast after everything went tits up over at odds, so we owe them a massive debt of gratitude. I'm very, very happy here with my new home, so I appreciate the support of each and every one of you. If you have any questions, I've got some time on my hands this week. Hit me up as always, either in the comment section here. I always try to reply on YouTube, as well as hitting me up on Twitter at Die Hard MMA Pod. And y'all just have a great week. Go out there, kick some ass, make the best of it, and get some rest in. I'm taking the rest week. You know, we all need to take a break sometimes, take a mental vacation, spend some time with the family, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. So I come back nice, cheerful, and refreshed for you all next week for an absolutely epic night of fights. Y'all have a great day. Let's roll.